Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show, it's about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of the Blacklist. A great episode, a lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. We're literally picking up where last week's episode had left off. Obviously, Liz trying to get answers from Dom, but regardless of how much she pushes and tries to get answers from him, she won't. Because it's like, for her, it's like, you're my grandfather, and obviously it's like, you threw my mom to the wolves. The fact of the matter is, because of your action, 3 generations of women have been in danger. My mom's been on a run. Trouble has come my way in my life, and Agnes will never be safe because she's mixed up in all of this too. So 3 generations of women in our family are screwed over because of this, and it's like, you won't give me any answers because, you know, especially later on when she's talking to Wrestler, it's like, because of Reddington, or no, it's actually, she was talking to Dembe, because it's like, my dad's dead, my husband's dead. Once again, let's not forget, Mr. Kaplan, Kate, she's gone because of these secrets. So it's like, she's like, I need to know, but the fact is, that Dom doesn't want to tell her. Like, that's always been the thing. Like, the fact is they're willing to go this far above and beyond not to tell you the truth means that the truth is that bad. Knowing the truth is that dangerous, that they'd rather do all this blood and stuff, all this death and bloodshed for the purposes of keeping this secret, because the truth getting out there is just that much more dangerous. Because the whole conversation has always been, we're protecting you, but Liz could never get this. Like, how are you protecting me when you're basically destroying my life? It's like, yes, because I think in Reddington's eyes, it's all a small price to pay to keep, like, it all centers around Liz, because it's like, her knowing this truth, whatever it really is, will change things. And it's like, I guess, like, maybe it's a situation that if Liz ever found out the true truth, then maybe it's something that ends with her being the sacrificial lamb. So it'd be a situation where she would have to sacrifice her, like, because of who she is at her core, that maybe Liz would want to sacrifice herself. You know, maybe that's what I don't know. Like, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but at the end of the day, Dom still won't give her the answers, because he's like, the fact of the matter is, at the very least, if he can't give her answers, at least he can die knowing that he didn't say anything. So to him, he'd rather die holding on to these secrets, because I think for him, it's like, at least I was able to do what I could. You know, I did protect you, because he's like, oh, that woman. So it's something about Katarina's circumstances, which we'll get into that later on. But obviously, I love the whole situation with home dude from last episode who set up the van for Liz and everything, and like, obviously Reddington's like, go ahead, hit me with the crowbar, you want to stab me in the back so hard, and it's like, you know, either you take your shot or I'm gonna take my shot. And it's just like pressuring the dude. He's like, I'm sorry, if I knew the attack was going to be against you, I didn't know who the attack was going to be, the setup was going to be about, I didn't know it was for you. If I knew it was against you, I would have never helped that. And Reddington's like, I'm sorry, you know, just basically had to test his loyalty to make sure. And it's like, you know, basically like, oh, here's some money, take your girl out to this, and yada yada yada. So they show up to the FBI, because the FBI is still tracking down Liz, and Harold and Reddington have their sit down, and now it's a whole conversation about, like, you know, that basically blaming this on Reddington. It's like, this isn't Liz's fault, and even if it is, you're just as much to blame, because she's going this far above and beyond for answers. And you're like, yes, but you can say all that, but you can tell, like, regardless of her reasoning, she's going far off the situation, being like, it ain't even just me, this is her on her own, kind of going this far off, you know, so far from who she is. And obviously Reddington kind of throws it in Wrestler's face, like, oh yeah, you got played. She knows how to basically pull on your heartstrings. I forgot what was the example he used. She's the he made a reference to, like, this is prom and she's the loner in the corner, and you're like some football player trying to do whatever you can to get a touch, fill her up, you know, for prom or whatever. Obviously that set Wrestler off, but the whole point was so Dembe could place something on him so they can listen to his conversation. So Wrestler's meeting up with Liz, and obviously Reddington's listening in on a conversation. So it's like, once again, just her desperation for answers, because it's like, oh, your grandfather needs medical attention, but it's like, you doing what you're doing now, like, how, it's like, oh, now you feel a little regret after you've kidnapped him and everything. It's like, for Wrestler, it's like, you're so desperate for answers about your family, look how far you're willing to go. He's like, we're family, like, we're like the closest thing you have to family. So listen when I'm telling you, you're kind of going, like, you've already kind of crossed over. You shouldn't taken things as far, but it's still a thing where they're kind of offering her an out, like, you can find a way out of this. Because obviously Liz was trying to apologize, but Wrestler was like, you know, at the end of the day, he kind of feels like he's the one that should be apologizing, because it's just because of the complicated situation she's in, because he would do anything for her except for this. Because I'm not going to help you tell, it's like, I'm not going to torture my grandfather, because for Katarina, she promised not to hurt him, because it's like, because Liz called her mom for the first time. It's like, she said, Katarina, mother, and it's like, you've never called me that before. So just because of that, trying to like keep some relationship with her daughter, she's not willing to cross that line. But even Wrestler's like, can you really trust her? And obviously the conversation comes up later on with I think it's with Reddington, that she says that, yes, I don't know the entire truth, but at least Katarina's offering stuff that Reddington, at least, you know, Katarina's giving you like a little leeway. Reddington's not giving you anything, you know? But once again, it is a thing that I personally say where it's like, Reddington's never lied to her. He never claimed to be who everyone else claimed him to be. He never claimed to be your father. He never claimed, but the thing is, he never said no. It's like, oh, are you my father? Well, he did say straight up no. It's like, are you Ilya? He never, it's like, you can go and assume that I'm Ilya. I never said I was. But there's also the whole thing of like, you know, so it is that thing of like, you know, but that's always the thing, like, an omission of truth is a lie in a lot of people's case. Some people, it's like, hey, I never lied to you. I might not have told you the truth, but I never lied to you because I didn't say anything. So you can't hold that against me. And that's kind of Reddington's, like, you know, his go-to way of kind of viewing things. But because of, you know, her dad having a seizure, Katarina is able to talk to her dad because he thinks it's like in the past. And he's like, oh, he sees her as her, so she's trying to use this to her advantage. But what was interesting was like him being like, oh, like, you know, this plan of yours isn't going. And she's like, what? He's like basically saying, I know what you were up to. You can't do that. You know, it's like, because she was saying like, you know, is Reddington in 13? Does he have the archive? Because it's like, no, you have the archive. And she's like, what? And I was like, wait, what? Because then immediately my brain started thinking like, are we kind of, it's a weird reference to, well, I was about to say, make a weird reference to like Waterworld, even though I've never seen the movie. It's like, isn't the whole thing about that is like the map is on someone's back? Because I've heard people make jokes about it. I've never seen the movie Waterworld, but that's supposed to be, whatever the case may be. So part of my brain was like, I started thinking like, this is just my thought. I was like, you don't think Liz is the archive, like, you know, because remember she's missing some memories from when she was a child, and once again I'm probably reading too much into it, but I'm like, do you think that's what it is? Does it have something to do with that? I mean, granted, it's about her, you know, when she shot her dad and everything, and all those memories. Like, part of me wonders, does that have some correlation? Because what did he say? He said you and Reddington, so it makes me think probably the original, the real Raymond Reddington probably sold it, and like it's like, but Katarina was like, okay, you might say I don't know what you're talking about, but you said I have it, but I currently don't. But he was like, you have them, like Reddington and you. So it's like that's why I was like, is he talking about Liz? Because Liz is the one thing that they did together. So that's why I'm like, is it something that was hidden on Liz this entire time? Like, I don't know. Because whatever it is, Katarina has gone this entire time never knowing what it, like, even like she knows of the archive, but she doesn't know like what, you know, that's what the confusing part was. So it's like, what's that all about? So it's like, okay, so who is in 13? And it's like, it's Reddington. So, but obviously there's still so much there that we don't know. Obviously, Reddington grabs up Liz and Donald and is like, okay, you can go ahead and call Harold and them. I'm going to have a, you know, talk with Liz. And it's like, oh, you want some tea? They have their sit down, because obviously for him, he's like, he looks like such a disappointed father. He's like, I am so, words cannot describe how disappointed in you I am. And obviously for her, it's like she's bringing up everything she knows. She brings up the archive. She brings up N13. He's almost looking like, okay, so I guess you think you got it all figured out. Oh, that woman. Oh, she's got the nerve. He even is talking like, oh, that woman has the nerve to play like she's the victim and all this. It's like, oh, she manipulated you. It's like, that's my mother. It's like, oh yeah, she played on your familial needs for a mother. Like, you got your mom back, and she using that to play you. But Liz is like, even before Reddington left, was like, if you kill my mom, whatever this is, whatever our relationship is, this whole thing between us, it's done. It's over, you know? And Reddington just kind of giving her a look. And obviously Dembe reluctantly has to zip tie her. And obviously she's like, look at me, Dembe. And Dembe couldn't look at her. She's like, you know this is wrong. You know, why are you protecting him? He's like, I can't answer that. But it's like, I think Dembe would only go this far if he thinks and that's always the complicated thing, because I think it's for the greater good. So for Dembe, it's like, that's why, because obviously he's always been, you know, Reddington's secret keeper. It's like, he knows a lot of these secrets. It's like, you know, why would he, you know, because obviously he's had his like that whole thing beforehand about, you know, saving his Iman or letting Reddington die. Like, you know, those complicated choices that situation that he was put in beforehand. So it's like, despite everything, here you are right now, and why are you still protecting him, you know? So, but Reddington and them get to, Reddington and his crew gets to, gets to Dom. But Dom's in a bad state. He's like, I told her everything. And when they kind of cut away, I'm like, is Reddington going to... Like, it seems he's in a bad way, but he was telling the doctor to kind of go ahead and leave. You've done the best you could. I was like, he's going to kill Dom, just because it's like, well, Dom's kind of on his last leg anyway. And it's like, I can't have the chance that you might slip and end up, you know, telling Liz as well. Like, Katarina knowing it's bad enough, but I can't let Liz find out the truth no matter what. So obviously when we cut back, like, he's not wearing any of the medical equipment, so either he did just naturally pass, or Reddington did something to kind of hurry it along. Like, it was already going down that route. Obviously he was on his last leg. So for Dom, it's like, at the very least, I was able to, you know, touch her face, say my goodbyes to her, and it's like, no matter what, like, she loves you. That has never changed. I guess Reddington wanting him to have that at the very end, I think that speaks volumes too about, I don't know, maybe that deals with his identity and whatnot. Maybe that plays into who he really is. But when it was all said and done, Wrestler shows up, and it's like, you can try to point the blame around and point this at Liz, but you're just as at fault for Dom's death. And Reddington gets his stuff, and he's like, you're probably right, you know? So now it's a situation of, like, obviously they have people tracking after Katarina, and obviously she called that guy Heidegger, because it's like, because he has connections to the group that's the people that are after Katarina. He's like a high-ranking person, and it's like, I can prove my own innocence, you know. But Reddington was already there waiting for him, and it's like, you won't survive this. And Reddington's like, oh, funny, I was about to tell you the same thing. And it's like, oh my God, obviously he was set up to be like a dummy. Obviously, like, when Katarina shows up, he's actually already dead, and you know. So at the same time, you know, Liz is asking, like, okay, is my mom dead? You at least owe me that. And he's like, your grandfather's dead. I'm sorry. But it's like, you might not understand. It may seem like Reddington is, you know, like that almost seems like the whole conversation was basically almost like, you might not understand why Reddington does what he does. He may seem cruel at times. She's like, seems cruel? Like, everything that he's ever cost me. But it's like, I think basically Dembe was trying to say Reddington has a reason for everything that he does. The people he's hurt, the people he's killed, the complicated relationship that he has with you, and you know, the prices cost you, like why he goes about things in such a roundabout way when it comes to Liz. You know, he's implying like there is a reason for it. And obviously Liz, once again, it felt like she was doing that to Wrestler last episode, was manipulating him. She does it Dembe to be able to, you know, get him out of the car so that she can end up driving off. And Dembe had the gun pointed at her, and he was like, because despite everything, I think he was kind of hoping that Liz could stop Reddington, because I think he himself couldn't bring himself to stop Reddington because he knew what needed to be done. And obviously the conversation they have, it's like, oh, you're in 13. And so she knows who he really is. And it's like, she's like, at the end of the day, it makes sense, because for him, it's like, I didn't know what Dom was planning. And she's like, I know you didn't. But the fact of the matter is, you at any point in time could have fixed this situation because you're actually in 13. You know where the file, the archive is. You could have cleared my name at any point in time. But while the less they were looking for me, the more they were looking for me, the less they were looking for you. But Reddington's also like, but at any point in time, you could have turned it, like I would have helped you like I did time and time again. But what did you do? You kept searching for the truth. That's kind of what she was getting at. And so, or rather, what I meant to say was that's what Reddington was getting at. Like, you know, your need to find the truth. Like, if you hadn't been so adamant about it, I could have protected. I guess it's almost like that's why he, you know, it's like, I don't, ironic isn't the word, but it's like, what he's doing with Liz is exactly that. Like, obviously, like, Liz pushes the boundaries because she keeps searching for the truth. And obviously, Reddington doesn't want to, like, I think he would never cross that line with Liz because she is that important thing. She is the, you know, epicenter to whatever this whole thing is, I believe, you know. But, because part of me was thinking, like, if Liz is connected to this, like, archive or whatever, could it be a situation that, you know, would she be willing to, I mean, she's willing to manipulate her own daughter, but would she be willing to sacrifice her own daughter for her own freedom, you know? And then maybe in her mind it's like, well, I'll be the one to look after Agnes because I'm her grandmother. You know, like, that's most likely me reading too much into it. But at the same time, Liz calls up, you know, Donald, hits him up to let him know, like, oh, you got to stop Reddington. If you can't get there first, stop Reddington from killing my mother. But when it was all said and done, like, Reddington was like, because, you know, Katarina was like, what if I promise not to tell anyone? He's like, oh, then that'd be the last lie you end up ever telling. He's like, I can't let you live. She's like, yeah, but you can't kill me either because Liz will never forgive you. It's like, I'm her mother. Like, she loves me. And it's like, your relationship was one thing at one point in time, but now me, it basically, even her kind of like basically putting herself in a situation where it's like, she implies like, oh, I manipulated Liz into a position where it's like, I'm her mother. Like, you can't kill me without there be repercussions. She even called, she left a voicemail on Liz's phone. So that also makes me think like Liz isn't directly the thing. Like I said, because part of me was wondering, like, could the archive be like a person? Like, I just don't know. Not unless it's on Liz or like underneath her skin or like somewhere on her body, like maybe it's all on like some drive that's hidden on that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But Katarina's like, oh, it must be so frustrating for you because you can't do anything. You can't kill me or Liz will never forgive you. And Liz is running up, and as she is, Reddington shoots her. And obviously for him, it's like he sees the look, and obviously Liz is screaming, like, you won't get away with this. And it's like he knows, like, things could never go back to the way they were, like. But for him, it's like, this was too important. And obviously Heidegger and Katarina's body gets taken. I chalk this up to two things. Either one, he straight up did kill Katarina, which I strongly don't think he did. I think he keeps keeping her alive, but he's not going to let Liz know, because if Liz actually knows her mom's alive, she's going to do whatever it takes to rescue her. But it's like, this way, Reddington has time to figure things out, kind of remove Katarina from the chessboard. Liz thinks her mom's dead, she hates you, but it's like, it gives you time to potentially figure this situation out. Now, what your next move is going to be, like, I don't know whether he's going to try and worm his way back into her heart so she forgives him, or maybe he sets some other stuff in motion so it counteracts. Because he doesn't know that Katarina left a message to Liz on her phone, and is like, obviously she only hears part of that conversation, because I'm sure she hears the side of the conversation we heard. I mean, maybe there's more on the recording. It also begs the question, like, when did she stop recording and when did she keep recording? You know, so I think because we see her phone a second time, like, during that whole thing, so I think at one point she did just stop. It seemed like she probably left out the whole part of, like, oh, you can't kill me because I'm Liz's mom. Or maybe she kept it in. Like I said, it just depends on when the recording stopped. But I don't think Katarina's dead. Because obviously when you tried to kill Kate, you went for a headshot. Granted, she survived, sure, you know, maybe your own hesitation. But, like, when he shot at Katarina, it was at the sides, like, almost like her shoulder. So I don't think he aimed for anything major, or at least he tried not to. Because I feel like if you want Katarina dead so badly, why not go for a headshot? Why even bother taking her body? Like, it's because she's not actually dead. You're keeping her alive because whatever their past connection is, what I was thinking, and that's why I'm kind of thinking I'm particularly wrong about this, is I forgot about when we learned about Katarina's story. She fell in love with someone, and that's who she was with before shit went sideways. She was set up by her dad. Because for her, it's like, my dad put me in this position, so I've got no love for that man. But obviously, for Reddington, it's like, this thing is a lot more complicated than you make it seem like it is. You're making it seem like it's super simple, but it's not. But I was wondering if this is the guy that she was with. Like, what if she thought, oh, we were together just because we fell in love? It's like, no, this whole thing has kind of been a setup from the beginning, and that he faked his death, in the car bombing and stuff like that. Or, because obviously we know Reddington, whoever this is, got plastic surgery to look like Raymond Reddington. So I was like, maybe that's why you got the surgery, because the car bombing wasn't what... I don't know. Because I was about to say, like, not unless you faked that, but I don't see how you could have faked that, because it was meant for Katarina in the first place. But like, that could have been the whole point. But that's why I'm like, especially just the way she was talking to him, it almost sounds like there was that deep connection. So there's some other thoughts I have in my head, but I'm like, that thought seems so wild that I don't think that's a possibility. Just because some stuff popped up in the show that I'm like, that contradicts that thought, so I don't even want to say it, so I just keep my crazy stuff to myself. But I was thinking, like, that's what immediately came to my head, that Reddington had to be that guy she was with before. I don't even remember his name. Most likely not. Maybe he really did die in a fire, but I just feel like it had to be someone. What his connection is to all of this. I don't know. So I just get the feeling like it isn't what Reddington's making it seem like he killed Katarina. I don't think she's dead. I think she's still alive. But next episode might give us an answer to that. It's going to be interesting to see where things go from here after what Liz did. Things kind of going sideways. She walked away with some answers, not a lot. Her grandfather's dead. Her mother's dead. At least her mom's dead. But it's like, because even Reddington says, because she's like, Dom was alive when I left. It's like, yeah, maybe, but you're still just as responsible. So it's like, Reddington definitely killed Dom before anyone else showed up. But that's not too much of a surprise. Once again, he killed Sam. So that's it's not too far off. Regardless, tangents and all that. But I'm curious to find out, like, where this is going to take us in the next episode, what Liz's relationship is going to be like with the FBI, because it's like, yeah, you did kidnap your grandfather, you crossed a lot of lines, like, I don't know how much you're going to be able to overlook. Is she going to be, kind of suspended until they figure out how they're going to spin this? I mean, Aram and Wrestler and Harold might be a little bit better about bringing you back into vote. I'm sure Park is too. I don't know. I'm curious. But also, like, the biggest thing is, like, what's her and Reddington's relationship going to look like? Especially, like, if Reddington continue, especially because I'm sure the team has their reservations about working with Reddington now, because this is all his fault that things kind of got this out of hand, so they blame him more so than anything. But it's like, well, the task force still has its obligation to work with him for the Blacklist and stuff like that. So it's like, I'm curious to see how all these relationship and dynamics are affected with everything that went down going forward. We'll ultimately have to wait and see. For really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.